How do you say your last name, Taj? Is it Haith?
Yes,
Okay.
everybody has
Taj
always
Haith.
gotten that wrong, bro. It's like
Yeah.
Haith.
What?
It's faith with an H, bro. I promise it's not that hard.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's start over. Let's go back to the beginning.
I
So,
got you.
what was your first experience writing?
I'd say my first one was about, I was maybe 9 years old, maybe 8 around there. And it was inspired because my father has always read stories to my brothers and I like Disney kind of way. He would always accentuate everything, make it seem so fun. And I loved watching him do it. I mean, all we would be doing is sitting in his lap and sitting next to him. And I'd feel like I was in Narnia, or if I was in Star Wars, I feel like I wasn't there. And I fell in love with how my dad did that. And I remember there was just one night that my dad was messing around with us because we wanted him to read us a bedtime story. And there were no new stories for him to read. And we were like upset because he wouldn't read the same thing. So I remember that next day I was like, I'm gonna write my own story. And it made no sense. It was like these shoes that came to life, and one was named Thunder, one was named Lightning, and they could speak. And they gave I've always been obsessed with super speed. I've loved Sonic the Hedgehog since I was like a year old. So that's always been ingrained in me. So the shoes gave the character super speed, and all he did was just run and save a girl from a burning building. It made no sense at all, bro. But it was just so my dad could read it. And for my dad, he laughed because he realized that I went through all this trouble just for him to read something that was over in about 5 minutes. But it was so fun because I get to control it. I get to do this. I get to do it. I get to decide how this goes. And even though I was like 8, 9 years old, I loved it. So I just, throughout the years, I kept doing it. I started making things longer, adding more things. As I learned more about writing, I started paying more attention. I was the kid who would stay in the after credits of a sitcom to see who the writers were. I would look them up, like Benny Medina or like from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I would look at that to see, okay, who made this? Who made this? Who made that?
The game.
So I would like, why are you still watching? It's over. Like, not for me. It's not. Like, I would stay in movie theaters before Marvel even started doing those after credit stuff, bro.
Yeah.
I wanted to see everybody who did that because I paid attention to how they did it. That's when I fell in love with Steven Spielberg. Because my dad, of course, showed a ton of 80s movies to us, and I cannot describe how much I loved those, bro.
What was your first movie that you were like, oh man, like this is what I want to do?
Strangely enough, I'd say it would be Peter Pan. But like the
original animated version, or
like the 2003 version. Like it's not really known too much. Alan Silvestri made the
So they did a live action?
Oh yeah.
Okay, nice.
Like it's not known at all, but I love it. I saw that all the time, and the music flying theme, I'll show you this after the podcast. It made me fall in love with music. It made me fall in love with storytelling because everybody knows the story of Peter Pan, but the way he did it changed my brain chemistry. I loved it. So when I saw that, I was like, I want to do this one day. Of course, I want to act. That's fun. But I want to do it to where I can bring my own twist on something I love and see how everybody else likes it. Maybe I can inspire some kid who's like me to want to do the same thing. Spielberg did that. He's one of my biggest inspirations ever. He's made so many amazing things. And he got rejected from school so many times, bro. And he's literally like Hollywood God. So that's what inspired me anyway.
Speaking of school, so you went to KD Conservatory. You graduated from
Yes, graduated in 2024.
So what led you to KD, and then what did you learn from KD? Like, what was the thing that if you could summarize like your biggest takeaway from that experience?
Oh, that's a lot.
What would it be?
Well, after I graduated, I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to admit that because I had so many friends who were going off to college in so many different areas, studying abroad or going immediately to like this Ivy League school. I barely passed, so I didn't think I was going to make it anywhere. I thought it's either stay at home or join the Army, and I definitely didn't want to do that second one. So I did a bunch of jobs here and there. I worked at Burger King for like a month. I was like, I'm never doing fast food again. I'm still not doing that. Or there was another place I found called Cinemark 14, and I worked there for about a year. And as I was there, I found different opportunities. And KD Conservatory was actually offered to me by my therapist at the time because she had a daughter who was going there who had just graduated. But it was really good for upcoming actors, producers, and musical theater. And I did all three of those things. So like, why not? Sure. And I got it together with my mom. We talked about it for a bit. And she said, if you do this, you can't back out. I went for it anyway and passed the audition. I didn't even know we needed an audition to get in. I just kind of showed up, and they asked me to show something, and I stole what I learned from the beginning of Hitch from Will Smith and they liked it so much. I started like the very next week, so I was like, okay, well this works out, cool. And in terms of what I learned from there, that would be like an hour long kind of essay.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot about myself more than anything. I mean, of course, there are wonderful acting tips that I've learned from amazing people such as Sarah Rattan, Michael Childs, Linda Leonard, who else? A few others, of course, but I learned a whole lot.
These
from
are your
them.
professors?
Oh yeah, there were a lot,
Yeah.
but these are some that I can think of off the top who had the most
Right.
impact on me and things
Mhm.
along that nature. And what the school teaches you a lot that isn't really said in a lot of other places. They teach you about you. Of course, there's acting. Of course, there's dancing. Of course, there's producing. There's how your body works. But they teach you who you are as a person and how you approach certain things. I vividly remember we did this one exercise in my acting 1 class to where we had to act like the other person in the room telling a story. And seeing somebody else act the way I did kind of opened my eyes to where like I am interpreted in many different ways through the eyes of many people.
So they had to do an impression of you,
Yeah.
your mannerisms and stuff?
Yeah, and
Okay.
I was so freaked out about it, dude. 'Cause I
Yeah.
was like, what in the
I
world?
bet that was weird, yeah.
But seeing that was like, everything you do and everything you behave in, somebody else takes that and sees it for themselves.
Completely.
And
yeah.
I began to see that a lot of impact that you have on people isn't even said out loud most of the time. They just inherently do it.
Right.
And that's when everybody saw the person who affected me, like tried to, imprint on me and things. It was funny to see that, but also showed me humans are very impressionable creatures. It does not take a long time for somebody to just get somebody else down like that. And you have a certain vision in your head right after. It was really cool to me.
Well, even today, like when you came over, when you got here, like that was an example of that. Like you were walking in, and I was like, "What's up, man?" You're like, "Man, you look happy, bro." And I was like, well, whether I'm internally like at peace right now is debatable, but but it's interesting that like the energy that you capture from me is still different than maybe what I'm not even aware of it. It's
Mhm.
like, once we started talking about it, I realized, subconsciously, I guess I am doing a little bit better lately. Like,
Yeah.
I'm more motivated. Like, yeah, these things. Once I started digging, I was like, oh yeah, in my subconscious it was there, but I think I've been so in work mode that it's
Mhm.
like, hard to notice.
A lot of the
Yeah.
energy you don't pay attention to is the energy that everybody picks up the most.
Right.
That's why
Yeah.
you always got to be sure you're on. Well, not always. Of course, nobody can be on their A game 24/7. But to take care of yourself, it's like I imagine it's kind of a defensive aura, to where like even when
Mhm.
you're not trying to give that out, people still pick up on it and they
Right.
can see what you're about without you even saying anything. That goes into confidence. And
People can
your
tell if you're being
creativity.
inauthentic, especially
yeah.
too.
Like it's like oil and water, and nobody seems to know the difference, but until you actually see it, and it's hilarious to see everybody else's reaction to it, though.
Yes, yeah. So, what advice do you have for people that are going back to the writing side of things, right? I mean, this could be creative in general, but obviously your focus is writing, film scripts,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously now you're kind of stepping into music as well. So, as far as just writing in general, being a creative, like, what do you think is a solid piece of advice you would give to somebody who is starting out, or even to yourself when you were starting out? What would you recommend?
One thing that a lot of people inherently don't pick up on, or just don't want to do, or are afraid to do. Everybody wants to copy somebody else in order to make their thing. Because, hey, it worked for them, it worked for me too. That doesn't always happen. So what I would say is, it's cliche, but be you. Don't try to steal from everybody else. Don't try to imprint everybody else. Sure, you can borrow ideas, you can borrow concepts, but people will be able to tell if it's you or a stale carbon copy of somebody else's work. That's why a lot of B-list movies don't work out, because they're just trying to copy something else. Or a lot of songs that come out, nobody wants to listen to because they're just sampling what somebody else did and then putting their twist on it. That works sometimes, but you can also tell, hey, this is an original. Original things are what everybody wants. I mean, for example, all of rap nowadays, that started because somebody was original and did their own thing. Now everybody does it, and
Right.
it gets very stale and boring really quick, but it wasn't always like that. Or George Lucas, for example, Star Wars was like completely original in everything he did. And
Right.
now, if you look at space, everybody's trying to copy that in at least one way or another. Everybody tries to take what everybody else did. It's like everybody has a safety net that they try to hold on to. That's not how legendary things get made.
Yeah, real.
Like a big example would be Michael Jackson's Thriller. Michael Jackson has always been like, in terms of entertainment, has been my biggest inspiration for dancing, for clothing, for just I've loved him since I was a literal baby. So I realized that a lot of the things he did, the only reason he's as big as he is because he didn't copy anybody else. He borrowed things, but he made his own thing and it was authentic. And things didn't work all the way. For example, when he made the Bad album, that barely won any awards on its first night, compared to Thriller that won nearly 12 right then and there. I'm probably wrong on that, but it was a lot. And he wasn't afraid to be authentic about it. If it doesn't work, that's okay.
Imagine if Michael Jackson held back.
Dude, oh my, especially since he died 16 years ago today, nobody would care.
Yeah,
if he held back, dude.
Imagine if he held back from his potential. And I think he had reasons to also. I mean, you think about like him and his siblings, right? I bet it was a struggle for him to outshine his siblings. Maybe not. I can't speak to his internal psyche, but I could see a possibility in a world where that as he kind of became sort of the star, that it's like could he outshine his siblings? And obviously he did. And it's one of those things that I think holds people back. Like you said, like you were talking about also before we started recording, is how you don't want to leave the people that you care about behind as you grow in this journey. But your fear is the only reason you think that they would be, quote, left behind is because that they're not on the same path as you, and it's not someone's better than the other, but rather that you just are on different paths.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard to take those people with you, And
a lot of people don't want to admit that because they don't want to seem overzealous or super prideful or I'm better than you complex. Like it's not.
Right.
There are a lot of people who just aren't on the same level as you, and that's not a bad thing. Everybody's called to do different things.
Yeah.
Everybody has different talents. I mean, I can't make music the way you do, so I wasn't called to do that same thing. Or there will be people who want to desperately be the next big singer or dancer or actor, but aren't. Like, for example, Michael B. Jordan, his story is really cool to me because he would bring his headshot with him to school every single day just in case he found somebody else. Everybody made fun of him, and nobody was really on the same level as he was. And now there's not a movie out that he's not in.
Yep.
So a lot of people who limit themselves out of fear are the ones who have the most bitterness and regret later on in the future. And personally, there's no way in the world I'm going to let that happen to me, bro. I'm not going to let you do it either. Because we have a lot of things to do, and personally, I'd rather die doing what I want to do than live to 90 and regret everything because I didn't go all the way and was scared of leaving temporary things behind. And not to call people things, but everybody is for a season. Some are meant forever, some are not, and you can't choose those people. Only God can do that. Yep. And it's up to you to just accept what it is, because what I've realized in my life in terms of romantic relationships or just platonic friendships in general, holding on to somebody who no longer serves you will affect you terribly. It will affect you mentally, physically. It'll change your mindset. It'll change how your body works. It'll change a lot of how you think in terms of your creativity, because you'll try to appeal to them or think like they do. And a lot of people don't want to, get into supernatural things along that nature, but people have spirits, bro. And those spirits will latch onto you and bring you down to the same level as somebody else's if you are not careful. That's another reason why you must guard your heart, guard what God has given you, because it's not meant for everybody else. He gave it to you, So I would say that people need to really stop being afraid of going all the way. Yep. Or if you got to leave somebody behind, you're not a bad guy for doing that, because you're not living their life, you're living yours. And you are the one who has to answer to God at the end of your life, not them. Nobody's going to stand in the gap for you except for Jesus. And even still you, So that's why I've recently come across that revelation to not stop being like everybody else. Yep. Don't be like everybody else. What are you going to have fun with that for? Because you're going to expect the same thing somebody else gets by doing the same thing, And if it doesn't work, now you just look stupid, you know?
Yeah. When you're in a place of doubt or insecurity, what is something that gets you out of that place?
Why am I here? What is making me feel like this? And I'll begin thinking about it a bit. And what a lot of people and myself, until recently, like to do, they like to wallow by themselves because they feel like nobody else will truly get where they're coming from except them. And to validate their feelings, they'll stay. It's okay to be like that. You can throw yourself a pity party every now and then, but staying in there for too long is going to literally coat you in this thing of self-doubt, and you'll never break free of that. I remember, I think it was Pierce who said this, but staying where you're comfortable is the biggest mistake a creative could ever do, because you will only do what is in the confines of being comfortable.
Wow.
Being uncomfortable is what will let you get to those places. Like, nobody who's big right now, I mean, unless they're a Nepo baby, but nobody who's big right now truly got what they wanted by staying exactly where they're at. Like, for example, I'm in an apartment and you're here. You and I are never going to get where we want to be if we just decide to stay here for the rest of our lives.
Right.
Like, oh, we know this. We're used to this. You should never be used to anything.
Yep.
Get out of that. So what brings me out of those thoughts, to go back to that, is I feel like this because of that. What can I do to change it? Nothing right now. Okay, what do you want to do? And I know it sounds weird, but I remember I learned this from therapy. Like, the more you think about a problem, your brain will eventually get tired of thinking about it. Like, I'm sad, I'm hungry. And then you'll focus on that, and you'll forget what was even happening. And bringing yourself out of that is to give yourself a distraction to not think about it anymore. Go for a jog, go play a game, pray, definitely pray, go eat something, or talk to somebody. I know a lot of it is very cliche, but a lot of it really works. And people don't like cliche responses because they hear it so much, but
yeah, but
it
it's
works.
true. Exactly. It's like those statements are corny because they're true. They're so simple. It's one of those things. It's like, oh, it can't be that easy. Well, yeah, it can be, but we tend to overanalyze and overthink.
I think that everything has a meaning, and sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. Not everything is supposed to.
Sometimes it ain't that deep.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's real, man. Well, Taj, thank you for this interview, man.
Thank you for having me.
This is the first episode of my podcast now, and it just happened spontaneously. That's pretty amazing. But I think that's a God thing also, So, let me know, let the people know where we can find you, how we can support you.
Well, I'm on Instagram, Taj Has Charisma, or Taj Be Creator, whichever one you want to look at. Currently, my buddy Harlan and I are in the process of creating my first official short film called I'm Not in Love. Harlan's in charge of helping me write some of the things and all the music, so keep a lookout for all that. And his album coming out, y'all keep in mind with that. That's going to be dope. What else? There are going to be different plays coming out pretty soon that I might jump into, so I'll keep you updated on that. But what I will say to close this out is to please be nice to yourself. Love who you are, because there's nobody else like you, and you should be awesome thinking that way. And God really does love you. You're not forgotten. You're not a mistake. And even though I may not know you, I love you. So be careful and be safe.
Taj, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everybody watching. This has been Everything in Between.